Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. You know, you guys should be excited this morning because I've heard a couple of really good things so far since I've been here. And before we get started with the rest of the program, what I'd like to do is introduce a couple of people that were here yesterday. They took action, they saw a deal, they went after it, and they've already made money on it. Believe that?
Yeah. Believe it.
This is Ken and Rosalie. Ken, would you like to stand up?
Sure.
Why don't you just tell the group exactly what you went through yesterday and how you sold your property.
Right. Well, I was thinking last night what I should do. So this morning I started on the phone 6 o'clock and made a phone call and spoke to a lady. I told her I was down here and with a big group of real estate investors. I had an opportunity for her on a piece of property that I could get. It would cost her $5,400 to get into it. We'd get it as partners, and then I'd work with her, and we'd be selling it out, and we'd split the profit 50-50. So with the money we got into it, we got our money back that we spent to come down here, $1,400 in our pocket, and we still got the property to market and sell.
50%.
So that's a pretty good deal.
Great. Thank you. Great. Now, are you two together?
Yeah.
Okay, so you the same deal.
Ask Glenn over there. He's got a story.
Glenn, there we go.
He talks funny too.
Not to be outdone by a New Zealander, I went to I had to leave here at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and I went to a function last night, and I was talking to a gentleman and his wife. He's about 65 years of age, and he's been in Tulsa, Oklahoma for about 3 months trying to find some property for his young son, and he knows the development. And so I spoke to him. I sold the property for $6,800, and I also got a 1970 302 Mustang. The only trouble is it's in mint condition, but the engine's a little shaky right now. So I've got a mechanic over there before 12 today, checking out the engine to see if we have to replace it or rebuild it. So pretty exciting. I've been up. I was up till about 2 o'clock, and then I was up again at 6 this morning. So I'm pretty dragging.
All right. Give Glenn a hand. Michael approached me this morning and just wanted to let you guys know that in the newspaper there was a list of properties that had been sold in a particular area. So if you're looking at trying to figure out comparables in different areas, the newspaper will also give you the ideas of how much properties are worth too. Did you have a question?
No, I have a
Statement.
Statement.
Great. That's what we're looking
yeah.
for.
My name's Jess. I did somewhat like the other two gentlemen did. I called some people I know, and I told them about the opportunity that I was involved in. Asked them if they want to participate, and after I gave a few details of what we knew, what we've learned here, they decided to come and get involved. I went a little bit cheaper than these guys. They only went $5,000, so I got my money back plus $2,000, and we're still associates in the same property. We're partners in that for the resale.
Fantastic. What's your name?
Jess.
Jess. Anybody else? Hello? That's what I thought. We got a yes back here? Raise your hand so I can see it. Oh, not yet. Okay, there we go. All right. Not yet. Hey, but it can be done overnight. It can be done overnight. Everybody give these guys a hand. That was really good stuff. That was really good stuff. And that's the types of things that we can do that a lot of people can't do. And we just by bulk purchasing, we can bring you deals like that. And I kind of explained it to you yesterday. That that was the reason that we bring this stuff to you guys, so that we can all be successful. And I think that's why Dante started the organization.
Which paper were you referring to show?
Which paper, Michael?
Times.
The Daily News.
Was that in the Valley?
Which Daily News?
Which Daily News?
Sunday's Daily News?
San Fernando Valley.
Oh, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I don't know. I live in a small town. We only got one newspaper, and I don't read it. Okay. So if we go down the list of the 6 steps, last night we finished up making the offer. So we started out locating the property, physically and financially inspecting the property, and making the offer. That's all we were doing last night, was making the offer and creating a contract. We're not putting ourselves in any type of liability, and we're not doing any types of financing when we're trying to sell the contract. However, we need to go one step further now. For those people that want to buy property for themselves, we're going to need to look at financing. So that would be step 4. Before we can finance anything, we need to look at our credit. We need to look at how our credit affects our financing. So what I like to do is to kind of review on the different types of lenders, conventional and unconventional, so that we can look at the credit that we need. We need to look at the different types of lending institutions that are available. First, we have conventional lending. In conventional lending, we have to have what they call full document, or they call it full doc. If you ever hear that, then you'll know that you need to have good credit. What they're going to look for is 2 to 3 years in your IRS reports or your tax returns. They're also going to look for your credit reports, and you're going to need to have a pretty good credit report. Okay? So you're going to need full documentation. However, they will loan at market rate. And currently the market rate is what? Around 8.75, I think. It's getting close anyway. Okay? That's 8.75 no points? Or a little bit lower no points. Okay? We're also looking at the opportunity then to take a loan up to 97%. So they will loan 97% LTV. Loan to value. Loan to value. Okay? Loan to value, if the property is a $200,000 home, or for instance a $100,000 home, these conventional lenders with the right credit will lend you up to 97% of that amount, so that you only have to come up with 3% down. Okay? So in order to get conventional lending, you're going to need full documentation. You're going to need a market rate. You will receive a market rate, and you at the same time can get up to 97% financing. Loan to value is LTV. You'll see that in a lot of different situations. Now these are the types of lenders that you're going to find in your REO guide or the BORE that we talked about yesterday. Yes? Are you getting those rates on vacant land? Probably not. Okay? It depends on the lender as far as unimproved properties or even properties that are fully improved without a structure. Okay? It also depends on your liquidity and your financial statement. Okay? Non-conventional or unconventional lending. We've got these are what we call hard money. They're hard money lenders. You need lesser credit. A lot of times they will loan to you even if you have a bankruptcy or foreclosure, depending on the work you've done to clean up your credit and how you've reestablished yourself. However, they loan at 10 to 12% currently. And the LTV is between 50 and 75%. So you need more money down. You're going to buy a $100,000 property. It's a 50% LTV. Then you're looking at a $50,000 down payment, granted that you don't have the same credit as you would in a conventional loan. Okay? Now, if we're going to go to a hard money lender, this is who we are. This is who we call the PPB and the CFL lenders. So in your lenders and brokers directory, when you're out looking for properties and you're assuming that they are a hard money lender, then you're looking at what type of offer on a $100,000 property. 50%, right? You kind of know where they're at. On a conventional lender, if you're trying to get 3% less, then it becomes more difficult to have any equity in the property. So what we're looking at is in the PPB and CFLs, and that's the book that I found most of my deals out of, you've got a wider variety of equity left in the properties that the banks can deal with. Yes.
PPP and CFL, your statement was that there's a better equity value in those than anything else?
Well, you're going to know that they have more equity in the property. You're going to know that they have more equity in the property. I should say the question is, state the question again.
The question is, whether it's a PPP or CFL, there's usually more equity available in the property?
Right. If it's a PPB, the question is, if it's a PPB or CFL, is there more equity in the property? Yes, there's more equity in the property because they don't loan as high of a loan to value. So if it's a $100,000 property, they're going to loan $50,000 on it or even $75,000 on it. You're still going to have $25,000 to $50,000 worth of equity left in the property. What does the bank want when they sell their property? They want to cover the amount of the loan that they made, right? So the property's worth $100,000 and you go into the bank and offer them 50, you know between 50 and 75, you know that they've already loaned that much against the property. But if you go to a conventional lender, they may have loaned 97%, which only leaves you 3% equity in the deal. Therefore, there's nothing for you to play with. Now, a little bit off the track of financing, but I think I should cover it, and that is yesterday there was also a question in regards to how do we stay away from the realtor fees, and how do we work with a realtor if the realtor has the listed property for the PPB or CFL lender or even the REO listings. Because what you're going to find is when you're making your phone calls, going out there and looking for properties, is that a lot of these properties are going to already be brokered out. They're already going to have brokers or agents handling the property. That's okay in the beginning because you can buy properties through realtors and still pay the fees and make money. However, as you establish your relationship with the bank, as you make those calls on a consistent and daily basis or monthly basis, you are going to be able to be contacted by the bank, and the bank will let you know when they have a good deal. So that way they don't have to list with a broker or agent. Now, some banks have a policy in the bank that, in fact, they have to list with a broker or agent. So they will always refer you to a broker or agent. When you're making your phone calls, you're going to establish the relationship with the banker so that they understand that you have money to invest and that you're aggressive and that you should like to close some deals. So when they get all these properties in, the first person they're going to call is you. But you have to establish a relationship. When you get started, you are going to find that a lot of agents and brokers have these properties already listed. Now, in some cases, if you contact the bank first and they tell you about the property, but the property is already listed with an agent, they have a special agreement with the agent. And basically what it is a first sell, first serve basis. So the agent goes out and markets it at full market value. However, you can still buy it at a discount through the bank without having to go through the agent. So you have to be able to know whether or not you have to go through the agent or whether the bank is willing to deal with you based on the agreement they have with the agent. Now, let me ask you this. Why doesn't a bank go out and put an ad in the paper for a property at 50 cents on the dollar? Well, not only that, but it's going to make the bank look silly, isn't it? It's going to make the bank look like they're hurting, and then what's going to happen? They're going to run out of business, and everybody's going to run down to the bank and see if they can buy properties at 50 cents on the dollar. Can you imagine, American Federal Savings has properties, $100,000 properties for $50,000? That won't work. So they list it with an agent. The agent goes out and lists it at full market value. And then if you know enough about the deal, you can still make the 50 cent on the dollar offer through the agent. They have to take your offers. Who's a real estate agent in here? Do you have to accept my offer?
Yeah, if it's within, yes.
I would say pretty much any offer I make, if you don't put it in, there's going to be trouble. Okay? So they have to make your offer for you, but you're still going to have to pay their fees. All right? Does that make sense to everybody? Why they list at full market value? Obviously, they want to make their commission. At the same time, the bank doesn't want people thinking that they're in trouble. All right? Now, as far as credit's concerned, that's the first step in getting financing for yourselves and understanding where you sit as far as what types of loans that you're going to be able to receive. So there are 3 credit reporting agencies. We have TRW, TransUnion, and Equifax. The addresses and phone numbers for these companies are in your credit book that you'll receive this evening. Okay? What you need to do is you need to write to each one of these companies. And when you do that, you refer to them one of the other companies. So, for instance, if you're writing to TransUnion, you let them know that Equifax referred you, or vice versa. It doesn't matter who referred you, just let them know. What that does is it establishes your annual free credit report, so you don't have to pay for the credit report. However, I would like to at least let you know that I think you should order your credit reports every 3 to 6 months. You should stay on top of your credit at all times. The reason for that, I had a lot of problems rebuilding my credit once I started establishing a better income. And in doing that, my dad's account started hitting my credit reports on a regular basis. So there are two different ways that you can take off your credit. In this particular letter that's sent to me by Wells Fargo, it says, "This is in response to your recent inquiry regarding the reporting of incorrect information on your credit profile. Since our records indicate that you do not have an account with Wells Fargo Bank, please contact the credit bureau agency with which this information is reported." So I got my credit report. I found out it was on there. The credit reporting agency couldn't take it off by just me calling them, so I called Wells Fargo. And I told them, "Look, I don't have an account with you. That's my dad's account." They then wrote me back a letter and said, "I personally have to contact the credit agency to get it off." However, yes?
Input on PRW. I subscribe to annually to their service, and any time an inquiry is made on my credit, I receive notice from PRW, and I can request a credit report any time I wish from PRW. The cost is $25 a year with TRW.
That's right. Elwood makes a good point, and that is they do have a service with TRW. It is $25 a year, and anytime an inquiry is made on your credit report or anything is reported to your credit, they will let you know immediately. I would imagine that the other services are probably coming up with, if they don't already have, these types of services as well. So you do stay in close touch with your credit on that level. Let me finish this up and I'll answer another question. On this report coming back from Macy's, same situation. My father was on my credit report. However, they said, "Enclosed, please find copies of the letters sent to major credit reporting agencies, asking them to correct the above referenced accounts." So they sent it to the credit reporting agency. So either way, either I have to report back to the credit agency based on the letter that I received from Wells Fargo, or they went ahead and did it for me. Okay? Now, there was a question up front. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they also put your positives and your negatives on it. On the report.
Right. I'm going to get to that. Okay. Now, when we send in for each one of these reports, what we want to do is we want to have a certified letter go out. We want to send it certified. The reason we do that is so we have a basic time frame, because the credit reporting agency must get back to you with your credit report within 30 days. If they do not, then we're going to have trouble. But at least you have proof that you've sent it out certified mail for that 30-day period. And once you receive the report back, they're going to give you your credit report, plus, this is TRW, they give you a pamphlet that says Understanding TRW's Credit Reporting Service. So it tells you how to read the credit report. It's a very simple report. They send you a credit report with your credit on it. Now, anything that's positive on there, like my dad's credit was on there, let's say, and he had some positive credit. Did I take it off or did I leave it?
Left it.
Depending on the size of the account and how much, because I was reestablishing credit, I left it on there. Okay? But his negative stuff, obviously, I got off. Now, what about my negative stuff, no matter what the situation was?
Get it off.
Get it off. Okay? No matter what happened, whether I was actually 30, 60 days late, or whether I truly defaulted, what have you, I disputed it. So they send you a piece, they send you an additional form in your credit report which gives you the opportunity to dispute any credit that you're not happy with. So I disputed everything. Now, just in the next 30 days, I lost 2 or 3 accounts just based on the fact that some of the people that I had bad credit with didn't report back in 30 days. That's the law. If the creditor does not report back within 30 days, it will automatically come off, period. That's in the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Now, when is the best time to dispute your credit? Holiday time and at Christmas. Because what happens is your customer service departments or your credit departments are so busy working on new credit and getting credit established that they're not paying attention to the letters coming in from the credit reporting agencies. Therefore, they don't report back within the 30 days. So automatically, your credit comes off. Okay? Yes?
I did that. I had a judgment against me. I filed the report, and it went in. I sent it in, and recently I applied for credit again. The thing was still on there. So they sent me a note and say, well, you know, they've lost it somewhere, but it's your fault. And it was well over 30 days, and
Do you have record?
yeah, I got record of it.
Then re-report it.
I did, but it's the hassle of going through there, so they don't always take it off.
Okay, Chuck is saying that he sent something in to dispute. It was a judgment. Then it was well over the 30 days, and then they said they lost it. So then they said that,
Like 2 years later.
and it was 2 years later. So now you had to redo it again.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to have to go through. But remember, it's your credit, and there's no one else that's going to do it for you unless you sign up with one of these programs at $500 to $800 to get your credit taken off. It's a big hassle, folks. The way this is set up with the credit reporting agencies, it is not fair. Okay, they call it a Fair Credit Reporting Act, but it's not fair.
This comment. They passed a law that any derogatory will remain 7 years, even though you cleaned it up. It still stay on the report. Bankrupters have to stay 10 years. And TRW should send you that booklet to explain that according to the Fair Reporting Act. But it's in there. It's a booklet that says that any derogatory will remain 7 years.
Okay, any derogatory remains 7 years. However, if I dispute it and no one challenges me, it's going to come off.
Yeah, if they don't challenge you.
Right. If they don't challenge me, then it's going to come off. If they do challenge me and they report it back, it will stay on for 7 years. Now, this is a good time to bring up this point. I'll get to you, Ron. And that is, if you don't agree and you can't get it off, you have a space for comment of your own personal comment on your credit reports to explain the situation. So don't forget about that, too, because it does help in reestablishing credit for those of you that don't have good credit. Okay? Ron?
There are some agencies that send out their notice to the credit bureaus on a monthly basis automatically. And you can get it cleared 1 month, and it'll hit the next month just because you're in their computer. So that's something you might have to do on a regular basis, dispute it month after month if you want to keep it off.
Right. Currently, I'm still disputing my credit month after month after month because I'm still dealing with my parents' poor credit at certain points in their time. I'm still dealing with trying to clean up my credit even though it's been 2 years. So I would suggest on a monthly basis, if you can stay in touch with it until you get it where you want it to be, that's the way to go with it. Yeah.
Yes, I looked into purchasing a house about 5 months ago. There is a 1-800 number for the TRW you can call, and they'll give you all your negative reports over the phone. You don't have to literally write them. There is a telephone number you can call them at, and you can dispute. I mean, they'll tell you anything negative or positive, but if it's positive, you probably...
Right. What Wally's saying is TRW is a lot easier to work with than the other companies, and that's the truth. They have an 800 line. They're very nice down there. They'll send you your credit reports over the phone, that type of thing. But Equifax and TransUnion, I've had a hard time doing that. They want you to send in the information. They won't just talk to you over the phone. Yeah, I would say TRW is the easiest one to work with. Yes.
Do we also have to dispute all 3 agencies, or just...
Question is, we should get all reports from all 3 agencies. Yes, we should. Secondly, we dispute all 3 agencies because they are all different. They are all reported differently. Different companies use different credit reporting agencies. Okay?
I run a credit company, and the best way to do it is to get directly with the subscriber, whoever offers the credit. They're pretty good at taking it.
Right. What's your name?
Daryl.
Daryl has mentioned that the best way to get these things taken care of is to deal directly with the creditor, and I'd have to agree. However, it's nice to know what's on your credit report so you know who to deal with. Okay? Yep.
Have you been tracking that legislation going through Congress that would make it the responsibility of reporting agencies to clear off incorrect entries?
Jerry's talking about a bill going through, which what?
Going through Congress right now.
It's going through Congress right now, and
It's hard telling whether it's going to be passed or not.
What's the bill about?
Oh, the bill is would make any incorrect entries on all credit reports the responsibility of not only the credit reporting agencies but the creditors.
Okay, he's saying that the responsibility would then go to the creditor and the credit reporting agency.
Now, as to whether this bill is going to pass is quite another matter.
And it hasn't passed, so what we're teaching here is what you need to deal with today.
Yeah.
When you are contesting a something on your Chair W and the 30 days goes by and the company never responds and it comes off, can that company go back and say, oh, we made a mistake, it belongs to this person?
Can the company make a mistake and go back 30 days and say, oh, it belongs to that person? No, I don't believe they can. I think once it comes off your credit, they can't. The question was, if you dispute it and it comes off in that 30-day period and then the creditor comes back 30 days later and says, wait a minute, we made a mistake, they can't re-report the credit. Okay? It's just like I had a judgment with Mercedes-Benz. I owned a Mercedes when I was going through my divorce. That was when my wife left. She left. I ended up with a car. I couldn't make the payments. They repossessed the car. Mercedes-Benz never reported the credit. But yet I got a judgment against me so that then that judgment never became part of the credit report either, because Mercedes-Benz does not report, but at the same time the attorney who handled Mercedes-Benz judgment could not report it either. So I ended up discounting that particular debt to about 75 or 25% of what was owed on it. So you can discount your debts also. Remember that. If they're in it, the people, what do they want?
Money.
They want money, right? If it's a $2,000 bill and you have got no money, but I got $500 that I'll pay you today, and maybe $250 that I'll pay you in a month, but you could negotiate with them to pull out more money than it's better than pulling money. I'm sorry, you can't get blood out of a turnip is what I'm trying to say. Okay? Now, for those of you with good credit and with equity, this is what I'm going to tell you, especially in LA. Okay? If you have a home currently with equity still left in it, get an equity line of credit. It's a checkbook. And that checkbook will give you an amount or a credit line that you can spend as you choose. However, you don't pay interest on that credit line until you write a check. Let me give you an example of why investors are so hot here in Los Angeles. I think I went over a little bit yesterday, but that is, you got a $100,000 property that you purchased 10 years ago. 3 years ago, it was worth $200,000. So your appreciation in California just went sky high, much further than any other state. However, in the last 3 years, you've lost 30% of that $100,000 of equity that you've built, which is now $70,000. Instead of watching the equity continue to plummet in your property, what are you going to do? You're going to sell the property. Are you going to reinvest in the same neighborhood? No, you're going to buy a property, let's say from Dante, let's say in Texas, let's say in Nevada, let's say somewhere where the property values are starting to go up. Okay? So what's going to happen is you're going to get an equity line of credit on that $70,000. Now you can utilize that $70,000 on any other investment that you like. How many ways can you make money in real estate? 5, right? We went over it yesterday. 5 ways of making money in real estate. So if you take that money that you're only making appreciation on and it's actually depreciating in the California market, you could take that money and take it to Texas or take it to Oklahoma or Arizona or wherever it is that you'd like to invest in a better area, buy at a discount, and in a lot of ways there are non-qualifying, fully assumable VA and FHA loans that already have 10 to 20 years paid on the loan. So you're getting that loan pay down along with tax benefits, appreciation, and built-in equity. So take the money that you currently have that's only making no money and reinvest it into something that's going to make you a lot of money. So those of you with good credit or even with shaky credit, if you can go to the PPB and CFLs and get it even at a higher interest rate, you can make more money on real estate in other areas than you can right here in California. Now, going back to the sample with the investors, and that is, If they're selling that property now for $170,000 and they've got that $70,000 worth of profit, what happens to the $70,000? It gets taxed, right? Okay? If it gets taxed, then we're going to pay a lot of money on that $70,000. However, how can we not pay taxes on it? 1031 exchange. Okay? 1031 exchange is then going to allow us to take that profit, use an accommodator. An accommodator touches the money. You don't. You don't go in and close escrow, pull the $70,000 out, put it in the bank, and then decide to make an investment. You leave the money in escrow. It's transferred from escrow to the new escrow, and now that money has to go into a like-type property of equal or greater value. What's the situation with the investor, though? They have to spend money on what? Real estate. They have to spend money on real estate, don't they? So when you put your ad in the newspaper looking for investors here in Los Angeles, California, and they're in the middle of a 1031 tax exchange, what do they have to spend money on?
Real estate.
Okay? They can't go out and spend the money on stocks and bonds and other types of investments. How many people do you think right now in Los Angeles, California are going through a 1031 exchange? More than you can count. Okay? So I suggest that any of you that are interested in our properties and you want to work with Dante, and I think this morning we've proved that our properties can be turned over very quickly, I would suggest you go out, you get an equity line of credit, you pull the equity out of the home, and you reinvest it in something that's going to make you 10 times the money. Okay?
Is there a way to find out who might be sitting in this position with the equity line of
Put an ad, find a good deal and put an ad in the paper.
That's how you find out.
That's how I would find out. You can check with attorneys, because a lot of attorneys are accommodators. You can find out who 1031 tax exchange accommodators are, that type of thing, but it's going to be very difficult to establish relationships with them and get that kind of information. Okay? How long do you have to own the property to apply for an equity line of credit? 1 day. As long as you have equity and good credit and you can go to a lender and they're willing to lend you money against the equity in the property, you can pull it out that day.
Because I applied for it once and they told me I need to live there for at least 1 year.
Okay, well that might be on an owner-occupied loan that they won't allow you to do that then. If it's an investment property, it would be different. Okay? On an owner-occupied, what he's saying is he has to live there for a year, which is the truth. And that's what I was talking about yesterday with my property. If I went out and rented it today, the bank might have a problem with me doing that, but if they didn't know about it, then what could they say? There's no such thing as mortgage police.
If you don't have the property for yourself, can you sign on to someone's property and still get equity line of credit?
If you don't own the property yourself,
Yeah, and someone like sign you like on their property.
you want to be a co-signer on a property?
Yeah, can you get equity line of credit?
I'm sure you could be a co-signer on a property, but you'd have to work out a deal with that person to borrow the equity from them, I suppose. It depends.
Okay.
What you're saying is someone else had equity in their property and you came in and they couldn't do it?
No.
And then you wanted to come in with your good credit and take the equity out of their property?
Yeah.
Okay, you could do that.
Okay.
Sure, no problem with that. It's just going to be different, though. I mean, it's going to depend on your financial institutions and what types of things you're up against. Okay? So as far as financing, you're going to find a lot of creative financing ideas in your creative financing book in the package, which you received this afternoon. Okay, there'll be other ways of creatively financing, but what I want to do is go through the conventional lending and let you know you're going to have good credit, but you're going to get better interest rates, and you're going to have to put less money down. If you have bad credit or shaky credit, then you're going to go to the PPB and the CFL lenders or the hard money lenders, and they're going to loan you money at a lower LTV at a higher interest rate because you haven't established a credit. Okay?
Someone just asked me a question which I think is relevant to maybe many in the room about, it said you can only do it one time. And I told him that only applies to owner-occupied property, not commercial investors, not commercial real estate.
You can only...
If you're an owner-occupied, you have 2 years to rebuy the house.
That
you can do once every, I forget how many years. You
Right.
can't do it constantly.
Right.
But that does not apply to what we're talking about here.
Right. A 1031 tax exchange is on investment properties only. Okay? On a 1031 tax exchange, what you're looking at is, I believe, locating 3 properties within 90 days. Then, once you've located the properties within 90 days, you have to pick one of those properties within 180 days and close on it. Okay? It has to be of like type or equal or greater value. On a 1034, I think it is, I'm not sure of the numbers, that's your owner-occupied exchange. You have 2 years to utilize the money to reinvest, and you can only do it so many periods of time. I'm not a tax consultant, that's why I don't get into it. I like to keep the class basic so we don't get too far into it. But I do like to explain the investment properties with the 1031 because there are so many investors in California right now that are going through the 1031 that when you do put your ads in the paper, you're going to find a lot of people in the middle of these 1031 exchanges, and they have to spend their money on real estate. So they can also invest their money in Texas. Okay?
Is that within a year's period, I think?
The 1031 exchange? No, it's 180 days.
Oh, 180
You have to close on it in 180 days. So what does that do? It also gives you urgency. They have to close the deal. All right?
Good morning, everybody. Oh, come on, we can do better than that. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
There we go. There we go. How's everybody doing? Gus taking good care of you? Yeah, you learning a lot? Hey, if he doesn't take good care of you, just come see me and I'll take care of it. Sound good? Hey, let me ask you a question before we get started this morning. Who would like to know where the hottest markets are right now in this country? Okay. Better yet, if you're willing to go, if I tell you and show you where they are, who's willing to go? Say, I will. I will. Okay. Good. What was that? Wait a minute, what was that? When does the bus leave? I'll get to that, believe me. First, I want to share one of the biggest secrets with you in real estate. It's how this lady here, when she first got started, her name is Joanne. And when she first started with us, in her first month, she was able to go out and get 5 homes in her very first month. Now, I have a question for everybody. How do you think she did that? How many of you would say that she went out and paid all cash for those 5 homes? Okay, we got one person. Who thinks she used leverage? Yes. Yes, that's exactly how she did it. But the more important question is she happy that she took action? Do you think she stopped after that first month? No way. All the wise and the wealthy men knew when to use leverage, when not to. Anybody not know who J. Paul Getty was? Everybody knows who he was? Raise your hand if you do not know who J. Paul Getty was. Okay, for the benefit of those with their hands up. J. Paul Getty at one point was the richest man in this world. He wrote a book, and I'd encourage everybody to go out and get it. In fact, from time to time, while I'm up here, I'm going to say write this down, write that down. These are just things that I feel are real important. J. Paul Getty wrote a book called How to Be Rich. Write that down. How to Be Rich, and it's written by J. Paul Getty. I would encourage everyone to go out and get this book, and I'll give you the phone number where you can get it in just a minute. In his book, J. Paul Getty says, rather than get 100% from his own efforts, he'd prefer to get 1% from 100 people's efforts. I want to give you an example. We'll see if J. Paul Getty knew what he was talking about. What we're going to do is do a comparison between cash and leverage. Now, for example purposes, let's say you're a person, you're just starting out, but you're fortunate enough to have $100,000 to get started with. Hey, don't laugh. There's people in this room that have that. Some of you may not even realize you have it. It may be sitting dead in your home. How many of you bought a home over 20 years ago and only have a first on it? Do you realize that 20 years appreciation, you probably have some equity that's sitting there doing absolutely nothing for you? Can you use that equity to buy real estate? Can you? Okay, I'm going to stop right now. From time to time, I will ask you direct questions, and if I do not get a direct answer, I will go back over and over again. Let's look at it this way. How many of you have ever watched football games, sports on TVs? Do you think the greatest players approach things by saying, yeah, I want it? Take Howie Long, for instance. Howie Long. Now, when Howie Long steps on the field, does Howie Long go, I'm going to tackle that guy? Or does Howie Long say, you're going down? What does he do, folks? That's right, you're going down. Does he say it with compassion? You guys came here to learn how to change your life, right? You must have come here for some reason, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Some of you are unhappy where you're currently at, yes or no? Yes. You want the change, right? Yes. Do you think you're going to get that change by approaching things and saying, oh yeah, I really want it? No. You better have that burning desire, let nothing get in your way, and say it with some compassion. Now, do you want it? Yes. Thank you. All right. You got $100,000 bucks. Let's do the cash side first. Now, what I want you to do is go out and locate one house. Let's say this property, you purchase it. In this area, how many homes do you think you can buy with $100,000? Paying all cash. One, if you're lucky, right? I mean, we are in Southern California. Now, you're going to have some expenses. What was the formula that you were taught to calculate your expenses? Who said that? Okay, pity Merv. That is right. I want everybody to say pity Merv when I point at you, and the reason why is you've got to remember this. You deviate and leave out any of those expenses, you're going to make a mistake. If you make a mistake in real estate, it might cost you a lot of money. Nobody wants to lose money here, right? No. Okay. When you pay all cash, you've eliminated one of your biggest expenses, which is your mortgage payment. Ultimately, you want to get to the point where you pay all cash for your real estate. But if you eliminate your principal and interest or your mortgage payment, you still have taxes, insurance, management, utilities, repairs, and vacancy. Now let's say this property rents for $800 a month. And all of these expenses cost you $200 a month. You take the $200 from the $800, that gives you a positive cash flow of $600 off that $100,000 investment. Not bad. Now let's go to the leverage side and see what it can do for you. What I want you to do, rather than go out and find just one home, I want you to go out and find 10. Using that same $100,000, and as I said before, that could be equity in your home, cash sitting in the bank, a partner. You're going to go out and put down $10,000 on each one of those properties. Now, of course, our expenses are going to be higher because we now have a what? That's right. We have a mortgage payment or our principal and interest. All the rest of your expenses are the same. Now, let's say each of these properties also rent for $800 a month. But when you calculate all the rest of your expenses, suddenly you've got $600. You take the $600 from the $800, that leaves you only $200 a month. Only $200? That's right. You've got 10 properties, right? So times it by the 10, that gives you a positive cash flow of $2,000 a month. I want you to also understand and realize, when you own 10 properties valued at $100,000 each, you now own $1 million worth of real estate. Or, as I look at it, you control $1 million worth of real estate. Controlling and owning is the same thing. Which one looks like a wiser investment? The cash or the leverage? Also understand, when you have 100%, over on this side, on the cash side, you have 100% invested, therefore you have 100% at risk. On this side over here, you're only in each of those properties $10,000, right? So your investment is now 10%. Your risk is only 10%. Bottom line though, when you compare the $600 return off the $100,000 compared to the $2,000 return, over here, you're getting 3 power on your money. Did Dante talk to you last week about powers? Yes or no? Okay. Powers and compounding. It's the same thing right here. You're getting 3 times the amount, or 3 power, on that same $100,000. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So what do you think? J. Paul Getty know what he was talking about? Dante put it to me this way, because I'll tell you, there's a time for leverage and there's a time for cash. Who played on a teeter-totter when they were a kid, like at a park or something? Okay. This is how Dante taught it to me. Because I said, Dante, when do I use cash? When do I use leverage? He said, the easiest way is just think of a teeter-totter. He said, Reese, when the price goes up and it's really high, leverage goes down. I said, why is that? He said, well, it's better when the price is real high just to offer, what's Dante's rule of thumb? If you're going to pay all cash. That's right. So you're going to get a better deal if the prices are real high just by paying all cash and offering half. But when the prices are low, what does leverage do? It comes up, that's right. Would everybody agree that there's an opposite and equal reaction for every action? Okay, that's common knowledge. It's the same thing here. If the price is real high, just pay all cash. Offer half and pay all cash. Another thing you've got to be careful of, when you go and use leverage, if you start leveraging yourself on properties that are real high, unless you've got a job that pays you like $500,000 a year. Anybody ever been to a bank, wanted to get a loan, and they said, no, you don't make enough money? Your debt-to-income ratio? It's aggravating, isn't it? So, it's better when the prices are real high to pay cash and just offer half. But when the prices are real low, like some of the opportunities that are going on right now in this country, go ahead and use leverage. Your debt-to-income ratio won't get all thrown out of whack. Now, there's some keys to investing. And I learned this from Damien. I want you to write this down. The first key to investing is you've got to recognize value. Recognize value. Second, after you recognize value, you see a good opportunity, jump on the deal. Jump on the deal. If you jump on the deal, then you get to go to number 3, the third key to investing, and that is closing and cashing out. Everybody wants to do that, right? Okay, I think Damien is absolutely right in recognizing value, jumping on the deal, and closing, cashing out. Although I think you got to take it one step further. The real key to investing is education. You've all begun that process by being here this weekend. You're getting a good overview of what our corporation has to offer you. And I congratulate all of you. In fact, do me one favor. Turn to the person next to you right now, shake them in the hand, and say, hey, congratulations for taking that step. Okay, now there's some books. Now, to continue your education, there's some books that I really think you should go get. The first one I already told you, How to Be Rich by J. Paul Getty. There's only one place that I found this book because it's actually out of print, and it's with the Berkeley Publishing Group in New York City. Their phone number, write this down, is area code 212-951-8891. 212-951-8891.
What's the name of the company again?
It's the Berkeley Publishing Group. And if you just call that number, they're in New York City. For $4.95, you can get a copy of that. How to Be Rich by J. Paul Getty. Am I going too fast this morning? I'll tell you something. Hey, I can't tell you all how excited I really am to be back in California. I'm a native Californian, and I'll tell you my whole story in a few minutes. But for about the last 4 months, Dante's had me everywhere on the east side of the Mississippi, and people are a little bit different out there. I mean, sometimes I gotta really slow down. And that's not my nature. I kind of get going a little fast. Okay, another book you gotta go get. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Anybody got that book? Jerry, would you do me a favor? Should anybody else in this room go get that book? Yes or no?
Yes.
Is it worth getting?
Definitely.
Okay. More importantly than just going and getting the book, read it. Now, there's actually 2 books you can get. They came out with a workbook, and I would encourage everyone to get the workbook that goes along with Think and Grow Rich. Why? It's going to force you to do the exercises that Napoleon Hill talks about. Third book I think you should get, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, written by Stephen Covey. C-O-V-E-Y. It's a good book, isn't it? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's been on the bestseller list for a couple of years now. Effective. Effective people. Huh? Covey. The author's name is the question. The author's name is Covey. C-O-V-E-Y. Finally, and you can take these in any order. Yes, Mary? Yes, Mary's question is, can I get it in any bookstore? Just about any of the top bookstores. Walden, just step in, go to the mall, you'll find them. Now, there's actually two other books that I really have a lot of respect for the man I'm going to tell you about. His name is Tony Robbins. Oh, him. How many of you have been to a Tony Robbins seminar? Shame on you. Okay, y'all got to go. I'm serious. This guy is for real. Yes. Do I have anybody here that's watched his TV show? Okay. Now, show of hands. I just want to see. Okay. If you've bought his package, keep your hand up. Ooh, numbers drop again. Ron, do you think Personal Power Package is worth getting? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
It's the best, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll put it to you this way about Tony Robbins. I'll give you an example. Dante last week was right here in this hotel. He slept here. If you were in this hotel and you really had to talk to Dante, how would you go about finding his room? Call the front desk? No. No. I'll tell you. You want to know how to do it? Okay, here's what you got to do. Don't tell him I told you this. You got to be up at about 6 in the morning. Get on the elevator. Go to the first room or first floor with any rooms. And just walk down the hall real slowly. Got to be there about 6 in the morning. As you walk down the hall, what you got to do is kind of eavesdrop and listen to what's going on the other side of these rooms. Now, I'm not being weird here. Listen. You will come across, in fact, you can find Damien's room the same way. You will come across a room, if not two, and on the other side of that door, you're going to hear Tony Robbins' voice blasting through. That's Dante's room. A multimillionaire. This guy's almost a billionaire, folks. Dante, and I'm not kidding. He's coming up very close to being a billionaire. If he spends his mornings listening to Tony Robbins and then goes out and accomplishes certain things in that day, is it worth every single one of us, including me, to sit and listen to Tony Robbins every morning?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Does it make sense? Yes. Thank you. God. Okay, hey, Tony also wrote 2 books. First one, Unlimited Power. Get it, it's good. You can get that one in the bookstore. Unlimited Power. There we go. There's number 2. Oh, I'll let you even tell everybody.
What? Input on Unlimited Power. I purchased the book. I've read it. I also purchased the 16 audio tape package, and I've played it over and over and over on my cassette player in my auto. And that's one, we know that repetition is the mother of skill.
That's
Everyone
right.
knows that.
Hey, can we give Elwood a big hand, folks? Come on. Second book Tony wrote, and last book I want you to get, this should get you started, is Awaken the Giant Within. Oh, got it. It's a good book, isn't it? Clap if you've read the book. Okay. Is it worth it? Say yes. Yes. Hey, I'll tell you, why I even started off like this, I never read. When I met Dante, I had not been reading since I got out of high school. And by the way, I barely got through high school. I used to spend all my time watching TV, watching infomercials, never doing anything about it. Okay, before I go any further, I see hands coming up, and I'm going to tell you, as you all know, the schedule's a little bit messed up. I got in a lot of trouble last week. We were in Jacksonville, Florida. On the schedule, you'll notice that I have about a 2-hour time frame. I talked for close to 4 hours last week. Dante did not like it. He told me today, because Craig Meyer is going to come up this afternoon, Craig's got to catch a flight this afternoon because we've got a thing going on down in Texas that he's got to be at. It is very important that I get everyone to lunch at noon. So I want to make you a deal. Normally I would take questions. In this particular time I can't. This week I tried to include, in what I'm going to say this morning, about the top 100 questions that people usually ask me. But I'll make a deal with you. As I'm going along, if you have a question, if you will do me one favor, and that is just write the question down. If I do not answer the question, here's the deal. See that back table back there? Everyone look. Okay. I will stand at that back table until I outnumber you today. Is that fair? Fair enough. I will stand back there until I outnumber you answering your questions if you will wait until I'm finished. Fair enough? Fair enough. Okay. Who wants to know where to get started? I mean, where you really begin. Who would like to know what they have to do to be successful in anything they choose? Okay, I'm going to be redundant, and I'm doing it on purpose. As Elwood said over here, you have to listen to Tony Robbins' tapes like 3 and 4 times, because sometimes you don't get the message the first time you hear it. Dante last week showed you this. It is not Dante's formula. This is Napoleon Hill's formula. For those of you that don't know the story behind Napoleon Hill, he was hired by a man named Andrew Carnegie. Why did Andrew Carnegie hire him? Because he felt that he had robbed the American people. He wanted to give back to the American society. You see, back when the unions were all getting going, Carnegie said, you ain't coming into my company, no unions. He fired his entire American working force and hired foreigners who would work for next to nothing. As he made his billions, he got to a point where his subconscious started eating at him. So he hired Napoleon Hill, and he said, Napoleon Hill, I want to give a gift to the American people. And the gift is Think and Grow Rich. It took him over 30 years of research. How did he do his research? He hung out with J.P. Morgan, the Rockefellers, the Hearsts, all these people that were, going on at that time. What he was trying to determine was what those people all had in common. What common denominators did they have in common that separated them from everybody else? Do you realize in this country, only 3% of our population makes more than $100,000 a year? And I'll tell you, $100,000 a year is not a lot of money. It won't go that far.
After taxes, it's a lot less.
I hear that. Okay, so you got to set a goal. You got to work with proven strategies. For years people said, write your goal down, Reese, write your goal. And I spent time writing goals down. But they never made any sense. I'll bring that up for you a little bit. Is that better? I never got anywhere with them. So I want to help you in establishing your goals, because there's 3 elements I believe you have to do in establishing your goal. Please write these down. Okay, number 1, when establishing a goal, you have to do the obvious. You have to ask yourself, what do I want? If you don't know what you want, are you ever going to get it? No. It's like a guy who says, I want to take a vacation. Where are you going to go? I don't know. Do you think he's going to sit on his couch for a week at home trying to figure it out? Or do you think maybe he'll end up somewhere fun? See, it's a guy who says, 3 months from now, I'm going to Hawaii. I'm going to hang out on the beach for a week, drink pina coladas. Which guy's going to make that vacation more fun? So, first thing you got to do is ask yourself, what do I want? Number 2, I think, is more important than the what. And that is, why do you want this? See, the why is what drives you to the what. Third, you've got to set a time frame. Otherwise, if you don't set a time frame, what'll happen is it'll all become tomorrow, 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 tomorrow. Hey, how many dog owners do I have in the room? Let me ask you a question. Everybody who owns a dog. Have you ever looked out in your backyard and noticed the dog had made a mess all over the yard, and you know it's time to clean it? Yeah, every day. And you say to yourself, well, I know I really should get out there, otherwise the lawn's going to burn because of what he's done. And then all of a sudden you get a call from a buddy who says, hey, let's go hit the Dodgers game. And all of a sudden you find yourself in the car driving to go do something fun while the dog's still in the backyard. Have you ever procrastinated like that? Yeah. How many people live in a house where you got to mow the lawn? Let me see a show of hands. Have you ever put off mowing that lawn till tomorrow? And all of a sudden it's a week later, the grass is a foot high, the weeds are overtaking the yard? Here's what I want you to do. This is what Dante had me do. Everybody look up here for 1 second. Put your pens down. Tony yesterday did this exercise with you. This is the 3rd and final time you're going to do this. Because if you haven't got it by now, you're missing the whole point. Tony calls goals dreams. I call dreams goals. Close your eyes, everybody. Take a big, deep breath in. And exhale. Breathe in. And exhale. Forget about the person sitting next to you. Don't think about anything but exactly what it is that you want. It's 1 year away from right now and getting closer. As it gets closer, I want you to see it in detail. I want you to feel it. I want want you to smell it. I want you to want it so bad, nothing's going to stop you from getting it. Okay, now open your eyes and write it down. Open your eyes and write it down right now. I'm intentionally keeping my back to everybody right now, and it's not to be rude. It's because I don't want to see who's looking up here and not writing things down. See, I already know only 3% of you are going to do this. But I'll tell you the power of this. Back in 1953, Yale University did a little survey of their graduating class. The survey only had one question. The question was this. Now, mind you, this is Yale University, and these are the graduating students. The question was, now that you've graduated college, have you set a goal for yourself? They had 3 possible answers. The first answer was, yes, I've set a goal for myself. I know clearly and concisely in my head, and I've written it down. Answer number 2, yes, I know clearly and concisely what I want. I've set a goal for myself, but I know it only in my head. Answer number 3, my goal was to get through college. Funny thing happened. When they brought all of these surveys together and they tallied them up, 90% chose answer number 3. They were all just trying to get through college. And even back in 1953, did those people put themselves 30, 40, 50,000 in debt? How many of you, let's put it to this way, how many of you know somebody that went to college and got, say, an engineering degree and never once went into that field? I did, yeah. How many of you know that bartender that has a college degree? Yeah. Does that make sense to put yourself that in debt to stay on something that you don't have to be educated to do? But 90% of the Yale University in 1953 chose that answer, just trying to get through school. 7% chose answer number 2. They knew clearly and concisely in their head what they wanted, but they never wrote it down. Only 3% had ever written it down. Now, before I came up here, I asked Dwight how many people we had in the room this morning. He says there's 210 people. Who's got a calculator? Tell me what 3% of 210 is, please. Everybody agree it's about 7? Okay, I need 7 volunteers. Andy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can I get you forward, everyone to come up here? I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about when it's 3%, folks. Could I just get everyone to stand right up over here? Okay, now, here's what happened. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more people, please. 6, 7. Here's the 3% that wrote their goal down. Okay? 97% is all of us. We didn't write our goals down. 20 years later, 1973, Yale University contacted all the surviving members of that class. And here's what they found out. I'm going to use these 2 bags of M&Ms as an example. These 2 bags of M&Ms represent all the money that this entire room or that entire class had made. This is money. 20 years later, what they found out was the 3% up here. Could I just open your hands, please? The 3% up here, the 3% didn't just have half the money. They had a little bit more than half. Now, you guys want to guess who's going to split this bag? That's right. Let's see how much you get. Now, imagine, this is money. Okay? This is your half to split. When I say go, I want you to put forth an effort and see how much money you get. Ready? Are you ready? Yes. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, hold on. How many did you get? What? None. You didn't get none? Mary, how many did you get? None. None? How many did you get, sir? None. None?
I'm scraping.
You're still scraping? He got nothing, too. What about all of you? How many did you get? None. How do you feel?
I got 5.
Do you like getting nothing? Do you like getting nothing? No. What are you going to do? What are you going to do then? Write down the goal. Thank you very much. I hope I made my point. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, back in 1983, there were more small businesses that started in California than in the history of California. I was one of those. I was getting started in a small little company down here while I was in the Marine Corps. Like many businesses, how many? 35,000. I got these statistics from Bank of America because what happened in 1983, 35,000 small businesses started, 33,000 failed in less than a year. At that time, Bank of America was one of the largest small business lenders in this state, for that matter in the country. A year later, do you think Bank of America wanted to know why 33 out of 35,000 failed? I mean, whose money's really on the line? They did a survey, and what they came down to was this. Please write this down. Good plans do not fail. Failure to plan is what fails. That's what happened to all those small businesses, and that's what happens to so many of us when we first get started. Good plans do not fail. Failure to plan fails. I'm going to give you a 4-step plan right here. I want you to write it all down because it's very important. Number 1, I've already covered. You got to set a goal, work with proven strategies, and you got to take action. Now, we all closed our eyes and we asked ourselves, what? The time frame I'm going to give you for number 3 is 1 year. 1 year from today. You can't keep putting things off. So set it for 1 year so that it doesn't become tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Now, number 2, the why, I can't help you with. That's something you're going to have to look deep down within your own soul and ask yourself. So what I want you to do tonight is when you go home, I want you to put yourself in a quiet place in your home. No telephones, no TVs, no radio. Look deep within yourself and ask yourself, why do you really want the things that you're writing down? Then, once you understand why, what you need to do is you need to write it down in a paragraph form. What do you really want in life? Yeah, will you share it with me? Okay. I asked you because I was hoping you'd say a Lamborghini or something like that. How many of you want some fancy exotic car? Okay. We'll use that as an example. If that's what it is you want, get in the magazines, cut it out. What works for me is I put it on my bathroom mirror. Now, why I put it there is because I hope everybody here brushes their teeth every night and brushes your teeth every morning. If you don't, well, let's hope you take care of Mother Nature in there at least. You're going to put it in a paragraph form. Any pictures you can put them up on your bathroom mirror. Now, I live in hotels. I travel about 25, 28 days out of the month. I keep a whole stack of stuff. You come into my hotel room right now, you'll see these things plastered all over the mirror. Dante taught me this. What you got to do with that paragraph, though, is at night, when you finish brushing your teeth and you're looking at all these things that you want, before you go to bed, you got to say it out loud 10 times. It is a proven fact that we hear ourselves speak. Our own voices come out, go back in our own ear, and go into our subconscious. Our subconscious mind is what controls us in many instances consciously. Everybody, some of you already heard about this? Say it out loud 10 times. In the morning, finish brushing your teeth. You're now all dressed. You're ready to set forth. See, the difference between Dante and the difference between Tony Martinez or myself and where we were, understand, I came out of a seminar too. I was sitting right where you guys are only 4 years ago. A little bit more than 4. It's what we do after we put our pants on during that day that makes the difference. I put my pants on just like anybody else. But it's what I do after I do that. The first thing I do is I say my goals out loud 10 times. And then I look in the mirror, deep into my own eyes, and I say, Reese, what are you going to do today to get yourself one step closer to that goal? And you know what you got to do? You don't dare put your head down on that pillow until you've taken some sort of action, done at least one thing that day to get yourself one step closer. That's what taking action on a daily and consistent basis is all about. Now, number 2 in your plan, you got to focus. This has got to be consistent and daily. Focus. Number 3, You got to have determination. Hey, everybody remember Tom Vu? Anybody ever see that guy on TV? Yeah? How many of you went to a seminar? Okay, well, a couple of you. Do you remember on TV he used to say, "Come to my seminar. I'll teach you 3 secrets." Remember how he used to say that? I'm not making fun of him. That's just how he talked. He used to say he learned 3 secrets, right? You know how much he charged for those 3 secrets? $13,000? Well, I got hit for 12. How would you, everyone who hasn't seen Tom Vu, how'd you like me to save you $12,000 right now? Yeah. I'll give you his 3 secrets. Here you go. Never give up. Hey, that's what it's all about. You will not make it if you're a quitter. That's why you got to have determination to never give up. Number 4, have confidence. Have the confidence that the faith and the belief that you can, you will. You ever heard the expression, be careful what you wish for? You might just get it. Hey, be careful. So number 1, goal, strategy, and take action. Number 2, focus on a consistent and daily basis. Number 3, have determination to never give up. And number 4, have the confidence, the faith and the belief that you can and you will. You know a classic example of this? I just watched this movie the other night. There's a movie out right now called Rudy. How many of you have seen the movie? 3 times, right? Is this what Rudy was all about? Write that down. If you have not seen the movie Rudy, it's out in the video stores right now. I'd encourage everybody to go get it. This kid was only about 5'1", but he wanted to play for Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, to play football. This is based on a true story. This kid had dream crushers around him. See, he had an older brother who was all-state, could have went all the way playing football. He had the size, he had the moves, he had the arm. But he spent all of his time letting his brother know that he would never play football for Notre Dame. I'll tell you what, this kid, if it doesn't bring tears to your eyes at the end of this movie, put a mirror under your nose.
See if you're still alive.
That's right, because you might be missing something. Actually, no. Better yet, just stop it, hit rewind, and go back through it again. I'm sure you'll hit it the second time. This kid, though, 1975, played 2 plays, the last game of the season. To this date, is still the only player for Notre Dame to be carried off the field. Yeah. He only played the last 2 plays of the game, the kickoff and then one last play. But he was carried off the field. Why? Because this guy had such a burning desire. He didn't listen to those dream crushers because he understood one thing. What did Tony tell you dream crushers are? That's right, they're losers. Don't ever forget that. See, so that you know where I came from, let me tell you a little bit about myself. How many of you have been up to San Luis Obispo? Okay, that's where I was born and raised. How many of you ever tried to buy real estate in San Luis Obispo? It's not cheap up there, believe me. I started working when I was 7 years old. I come from a farming and ranching family. I never thought I would ever get anything in my life because I watched my father do the same things. Now, he lives a very modest life. I always wanted certain things, though. From the time I was a little kid, I had a burning desire to be a millionaire. Has anybody else ever had this dream? Hey, it's all possible. I'm living it, and I'll tell you. I got out of high school in 1980. At this point, like most 17, 18-year-old kids, I was listening to everything my parents told me. Right. No, how many of you have teenagers? Okay. Do they listen to everything when they're 16, 17, and 18? No, they know it all, don't they? That was me. I knew it all. My father, who I love dearly, and he loves me, had only one thing to say to me as I was on my way out the door the day I turned 18. He said, no, he didn't say good, don't come home. He said, Reese, I've tried to raise you the way I was raised. I've tried to install good morals. He said, but there's one area that I really see that you're lacking. That's discipline. I said, well, what do I do about it? He said, join the Marine Corps. Hey, there's my Marine Corps ring because I went in. I was a little apprehensive, so I went ahead and went to the Marine Corps recruiting station, signed up, but I did it on the delayed entry, which gave me 1 year. I then landed a job with a company called Phelan Telecommunications. This is back, understand, 1980 when MCI and Sprint were first getting going, and I became one of those tower riggers, these maniacs that climbed 500 feet on a 5-foot wide tower. Yes, I was a grunt. That's basically what I did. The funny thing, though, was a year passed very quickly, and all of a sudden I get a phone call, and it's the Marine Corps, and they're saying, it's time to go there, Mr. Blake. I'm, See, at this point, I'm an 18-year-old kid who's risking his life and getting paid $3,500 a month. Now, at 18 years old, do you think $3,500 a month to me is a lot of money? I told the Marine Corps, They said, I went. I scratched and I kicked, but I did I'm still, why did I go in? Not just because my father told me, but because I really am very proud to be American. I lived in other countries. I lived in Japan. I lived in the Philippines. I've lived in Korea. And I'll tell you what, if you don't appreciate America, and we've got one flag burner sitting here in this room, I suggest you go see how some of these other countries live. Because I'll tell you what, you'll have a whole new perspective. You'll appreciate that big fancy grocery store we got. Hoorah. I got out of the Marine Corps in 1985. I then went back to San Luis Obispo, and I was having a little bit of trouble at this point. I was sick and tired of taking orders. Well, can you understand why? See, I had been trained as a plane captain on A4s. Military spent all this money teaching me something that I now hated. I can't stand jets. They're loud. The fuel, I didn't like it. So I just wasted 4 years, except for I did serve the country. I wasted 4 years getting an education that to this day I've never used. You couldn't get me to work on a jet if you paid me. And I mean a lot of money. So I go home to San Luis Obispo, which doesn't pay, most of the jobs there pay about $5 an hour because it's a college town. So I'm scratching my head thinking, what am I going to do? Well, fortunately, I'd saved up some money while I was in the Marine Corps. What I decided to do was do the only other thing the Marine Corps taught me how to do. That was clean toilets. Seriously. How many people in the service period?
Janitorial service.
That's right. I went in the janitorial service. I took all the money that I got, that I had saved up, put it into carpet cleaning machines, window washing buckets, mops, everything. 2 years later, and I opened a company called San Luis Quality Clean. 2 years later, I had the largest janitorial service on the Central Coast of California. There was a problem with this, though. How many people in this room have ever opened their own business? Okay. Was it easy the first time you did it? No, I'll tell you, there was a lot of things that I overlooked. Things like workman's comp, taxes, insurance. I started getting a bad attitude at 2 years because here I am, the largest janitorial company on the Central Coast, and I'm not making no money. At 4 years into this, my attitude got really bad because I soon realized that my employees were taking home bigger paychecks than I was, and I owned the company. I'm the one that, to make payroll, is maxing out my credit cards. How many small business owners have ever had to do that one? Yeah, that's a fun one, isn't it? I'm the one with the sleepless nights. And in the janitorial business, when you own the company, you work from 6 in the morning until about 2 or 3 in the morning. At 4 years, my attitude was so bad, I went into one of my competitors' offices, and I said, how would you like to buy my janitorial company? And he got a big smile because, see, I had all the great westerns, Wells Fargo's, La Cumbre. I had more banks than anybody in town, more doctor's offices. I had 128 buildings I was doing every night. Not just me, my employees, of course. He got a big smile and said, I'll take it. I said, I'll give you all my gear, too. I sold off my janitorial business, and I sold off my carpet cleaning business. I kept the windows because I had to do something. Though today I still own a couple window washing companies, to that date I still have not done it. I now have been doing this 4 years.
How much did you get?
$35,000 in debt is what I got.
After you sold out?
After I sold, the question was, how much did I get from my company? It put me $35,000 in debt is what it did. It was a fire sale, and I didn't care. So here I am now sitting there looking at all my bills, my credit card statements. I have no way of paying these things. Remember, my attitude's bad. So I called up a buddy of mine who's a travel agent. And I said, you know something, Paul? I said, Paul, I've been working real hard. I think I need a vacation. He said, Reese, you definitely work very hard. I haven't seen you for a long time. I said, well, I was thinking about going to Hawaii. It's the one place the Marine Corps didn't take me. I said, where would I want to go in Hawaii? He said, oh, you want to go to Waikiki, stay at the Hilton Hawaiian Village in the Ali'i Tower. I said, book me a flight, book me a room. He said, there's one thing I got to tell you about the rooms there. I said, what's that? He said, they're about $450 a night. I said, Paul, I'll call you back. I picked up all my credit card statements, and I soon realized that I had about $10,000 of credit lines still available. Can I pay what I owe? No. Should I max them out? Yes. I wasn't going to be able to pay him anyways. I called Paul back up and said, book me that room. I want a suite. I got on a United flight, flew over to Hawaii. I'm sitting in the hotel, looking out on the beautiful white beach. I said, oh, I'm going to go down and see all the pretty girls. The beach is packed, right? So I get on the elevator. I ride down. Elevator hits the lobby. Door comes open. And somebody had put this huge sign right in my way. It said, Millionaire School, and it pointed that way. The beach was that way. So here I am looking at this sign, saying to myself, why'd they put that there? So I figured the girls could wait at the beach a couple hours. I was going to mosey over here and see what was going on. I got up to the door, and there was some really good-looking girls outside. So I thought I was doing pretty good at this point. I walked up, and I said, what's going on? They said, well, it's the Millionaire School. I said, really? I said, who's the teacher? They said, Dante Perano. I said, who is Dante Perano? She looked at me right square in the eye and said, someone that'll change your life. I said, can I go inside? She said, you sure can. I grabbed the door. She said, $4? I said, what? She said, well, it's $5,000. I said, will you take this? She said, I sure will. I threw up my credit card and maxed that thing out. I went inside and I listened to this crazy Italian, and I do mean to say crazy Italian. Now, I don't know how he was when you saw him, but 4.5 years ago when I bumped into this guy, he was running over here and he'd say, this side of the room, do you want it? Do you? Yes! Oh, God, I bet you they're going to beat you. All right, let's see. How about you? Do you want it? Yes! All right, one more time. This side. Yeah! He had everybody jumping, including me. Now, I want you to understand something. The whole time I was a janitor, I'd get off at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd head right to that refrigerator, open that thing up, grab that beer, go park myself on my sofa, get my remote control. What do you think I watched at 3 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, I watched this guy named Dave Delgado for 5 years. I could mimic his entire show. Now, San Luis Obispo sits directly in between Los Angeles and San Francisco. 3.5 hours either way. Never once did I get up off that couch and go to one of the seminars. Not once. I saw his show literally so many times that I was miming him. I was saying, oh, now he's going to say he made $13,500 on his first deal. Problem was, it was all going in this ear and coming right out the other ear. Now, the one thing that happened this day while I was in Hawaii was Dante said, write a goal down. It's the one thing that sunk in. How many would like to know what my goal was? Okay, I'll tell you. That's right. My goal was to work for that man. Why? He was living exactly the lifestyle I always wanted. He had it all. And I knew at this point in my life, unlike when I was younger and a little naive, that if all I could do was get behind this guy and walk behind him and mimic every single action and duplicate every habit that he had, I might just get the same results. So when he finished, I was the first one. I ran up and I said, Dante, I loved it. He said, good. And I said, I'm going to work for you. He said, call Jonathan in the office. I said, no, I'm working for you. He kind of laughed it off. So I grabbed the guy that was on the road with him at that time and I said, hey, where are you guys going next? He said, well, we got to go to Orlando, Florida tonight. Dante's got to speak down there. There's another millionaire school going on down there. I said, where's Dante like to stay? He said, oh, Marriott every time. Went to the airport, got on a plane, and I flew to Florida. Beat him. You want to guess who he found at the Marriott lobby when he walked in?
You.
There I was, big grin on my face. He walked in, took a double look, and said, didn't I see you in Hawaii? I said, that's right. He said, what are you doing here? I said, I told you I'm working for you. He said, kid, you got a lot of audacity. I said, I don't care. If you want me to polish your shoes, Dante, with my tongue, I'll do it. Hey, I was willing to make the sacrifices, do whatever it took. I wanted it that bad. I didn't like being $35,000 in debt. I didn't like maxing my credit cards out with knowing I wasn't going to pay them off. And by the way, it took me 3 months, became debt-free. Dante hired me on the spot. But sometimes that's what it takes. It takes a guide, yeah, it takes that determination. So don't ever let anybody tell you you can't do it. Don't ever let anybody crush your dreams. Don't be afraid to sometimes just jump off and get involved. You might just shock yourself of what you can do. All you got to do is look in the mirror, because that's the person that's going to help you. Is there anybody that's going to give it to you in life? No. We all agree with that, right? How many of you are waiting for the lottery? The lottery! It ain't going to happen that way, folks. Now, there was one thing, though, on top of everything, because I did have an advantage. I became Dante's personal assistant. I traveled with him for about a year, and then I trained Tony Martinez to travel with Dante. While I was out with Dante, he trained me to do certain jobs for him, just like when Tony was out with him, he trained Tony for certain jobs. My job was to be his principal buyer. Tony focused on land. How many of you took action yesterday and got some land? Hey, let me personally say congratulations to all of you. My hat's off. You took forth that step, and believe me, Tony Martinez is one guy you want to work with. The one thing, though, that Dante has to believe in his heart whenever he brings a person in, and that is that person is willing to give back and help others. See, I went to Dante and said, Dante, I'm just a sponge in life. I'm a sponge. Teach me. I'll do whatever you want. He said, okay, but if I teach you, are you willing to give back and help others? I said, yes, I will. So about a year passes. I hadn't helped anybody yet. One day, I'm over here doing my real estate deals, keeping busy. Dante comes up, taps me on the shoulder. He said, Reese. Oh, what? He said, have you forgotten about our little agreement, that handshake we had in Florida? Oh, no, Dante. He said, when are you going to start helping other people? I said, well, a little busy doing my deal here. He said, you ain't that busy, son. He said, you better find somebody and help them real soon, or you're going to have a problem. I said, see, now when Dante says something like this, you really get the message. It sinks in. I used to do a lot of halftime shows, is another thing I used to do. I have these world-class Frisbee dogs. Some of you might have seen me doing Raiders or Chargers games or 49ers games. That's one of the places you might have seen me. I used to train my dogs at this park when we were still living in California. It was right by my house. And I'd go home at lunch from Dante's office, get my dogs, go out and play Frisbee with them. And it just happened to be when all these high school kids were having lunch too. But they weren't hanging out at the school, they're hanging out at the park. I don't think I have to tell you what they were over there doing. Well, there was this one kid who always broke away from the group and came over and watched me play Frisbee with these dogs. And we got to talking. I think he was about 16 when I met him. So I finally decided, because this kid told me he had no plans, he didn't want to go to college, he wanted to work for himself, I finally decided that that would be the first kid I was going to help. Now, why do you think I chose a 16-year-old as opposed to maybe someone my own age? That's right. I definitely knew that I knew more than he did. Yeah. Let me share a letter with you. And I'll let, his name is Anthony. And I'll just let his letter explain what happened. He says, hello, my name is Anthony Gonya. I'm 18 years old and I recently graduated from high school. I met Mr. Reese Blake in the spring of 1991 before I turned 17 years old. I was a junior in high school and cruising into my senior year with no plan for the future and no desire to attend college. What I did know was that I didn't want to work for someone but myself. And I've always known that there was big money to be made in real estate. When I met Reese, he told me he was currently investing in real estate and that he had run a couple of very successful janitorial services with an emphasis on window cleaning. The first book that I read, written by Dante, was 101 Ways to Create Wealth. Shortly thereafter, I started making brownies every night and would sell a whole batch a day at school and was clearing about $12 a day. Then I started cleaning Reese's house once a week while he was working. Shortly thereafter, I had 3 houses a week to clean. With the help of Reese Blake, I have now embarked on the great business of real estate. I recently picked up a townhouse in Carson City, Nevada, using my brother as the investor. I'm 18 years old and excited about what the future has in store. Thank you, Reese, for sticking through times of doubt and laziness and pushing me towards the things that I want in my life, because I told you that's what I want. I will never forget the day that we met, because it's the day you changed my life for the best. Your never-ending loyalty, Anthony Gonia. There's a funny part to this story, though, that I got to share with you. That's this guy's dad. Yeah, his dad's name is Jeff. I knew that this was going to happen. See, I'm sending this kid home with books that are not in the bookstores, all written by Dante. He doesn't know Dante, he doesn't know me. But I'm sure he's going home saying, Reese this and Reese that. Well, one day, I'm over at the park, and he comes walking up, and he looks really troubled. And I said, what's wrong, Anthony? He said, man, my dad wants to meet you. I said, is there a problem? He said, I don't know. He just said he wants to see you for dinner tonight. I said, okay, no problem. Well, you got to understand, I'm a 30-year-old guy hanging out with a 16-year-old. Now, a lot of people that don't seem, okay? That seems a little strange to a lot of people. So I show up at the house. He didn't tell me his father was 6'4". Door opens, and there's this monster in my way. He says, hi, I'm Jeff. Gives me the big, tough shake. Oh, thank you, sir. I go in. We sit down for dinner. And I could tell there was a problem, because from the minute I walked in, he shook my hand so hard, he was biting at the bit, he could hardly talk. He makes it through halfway through dinner, finally just drops his fork on his plate. Says, Mr. Blake. I said, yes, sir. What exactly does a 30-year-old guy like you want with my 16-year-old kid? I said, I don't want anything. I said, can we talk private? He said, sure, let's go in the backyard. I said, okay. We went out there, and he said, so why are you doing this? I said, well, I have an agreement with a guy that says I have to help somebody. I said, it'd take me a long time to explain it. I said, but to sum it up, I hate to break the news to you, but your son's not listening to you anymore. I said, your son loves you. I said, but I see a lot of myself in this kid. I see a guy that if somebody doesn't put him on a path and give him some direction, he's going to do the same thing that I did, and that is start out, do something, end up right back where you started. Start out, go somewhere, run into a brick wall that you don't know how to get over. Has this ever happened to anybody else? Yep. See, if somebody would have just grabbed me when I was 16, 17, 18, somebody that wasn't a parent, somebody, though, that was older than me, somebody that had the things that I wanted, I think I'd be in a lot different place today than even where I am already. I said, I'd like to just teach him some of the things that school doesn't teach him. He says, like what? I said, well, the first thing I'm going to do is teach him how to read a newspaper. He said, what? My kid reads fine. I said, I know. You got to understand, about 3 weeks after I started working for Dante, we were in the Marriott Marquis in New York City. We were working. It got late at night. It was about 11. He said, let's call it a night. We'll start off fresh first thing tomorrow morning. We got to get these contracts done. He said, let's meet in the restaurant for 7 a.m. breakfast. Now, when Dante gives you a time, he means 7 a.m. So here I am. I've only worked for him for 3 weeks. I had one of these nights. Maybe this has happened to some of you before. Like when you're taking a big trip, going on vacation tomorrow, or you got a big interview to do tomorrow. I got in bed. It was 12:30. 1:15. 2:10. Okay. I don't want to be late. I don't want to be late. I don't want to be late. 3:15. By 5 o'clock, I finally gave up. Now, has that ever happened to anybody else in your life? I had one of those nights. 5 o'clock, I get up, I get myself ready. I'm in the restaurant at 6 a.m. I know I'm not going to be late. I sat there and proceeded to down about 20 cups of coffee. By 6:30, I'm sitting there like this, bored as can be. So I jump up, run out in the lobby, grab myself a newspaper. 7 o'clock on the dot, guess who walks in? Dante walks in, and from across the restaurant, you got to understand, the night before, here's a lovable man saying good night. Next morning, He's stomping across into the restaurant. He's frowning. I can see the veins coming out of his forehead. And he says, "Reese, what are you doing?" "Well, Dante, I was waiting for you." He said, "No, what are you doing with that newspaper?" I said, "I'm reading it." He says, "You know something, Mr. Blake? You don't deserve to read the newspaper." I said, "I don't deserve to read the newspaper." He said, "No, you don't have that kind of time to waste in your life. You have not made enough money to get to do stuff like that." He says, "You want to hang out with me?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Here's what you're going to have to do if you want to hang out with me. Before you do anything, from this moment forward, you're going to ask yourself one question. How much money will I make by doing that? So, ask yourself, Reese, how much are you going to make by reading that newspaper?" He said, "Give me the newspaper, and I'll show you what he taught me." And this is exactly what I did with Anthony. In fact, I did it with his father, Jeff, too. Dante grabbed the newspaper from me. And some of you might have seen him show how to read a newspaper, but I'm going to show those that haven't seen it. This is the front page. This is your paper. He says, "You know what this is?" I said, "Front page." He said, "No, this is sensationalism. This is what gets you to buy the paper." He said, "Take any article. Early man's legacy of destruction. How much money are we going to make, folks, if we sit and read this right now?" How much? Okay. Now remember, we're in the Grand Marriott Marquis, New York City, in the restaurant, and Dante goes, grabs the next section, lifestyle, walking with an election hangover. Opinion, well, we know what that is. He said, "Oh, the travel." I got excited. He said, "Reese, you're going to travel so much." He says, "One thing I'm going to do is travel you into the ground." He says, "You're not going to have to read about traveling. You're going to do it." He's throwing this newspaper and creating quite a commotion in this restaurant. Classified section. Got to that. He says, "You know what that is? That says spend money, not make money." Oh, then I got excited. "Real estate." He goes, "No, that's retail." Oh. Then there was the section he caught me reading. Yeah, that went over real big. Oh, and then there's this section, my favorite section 4 years ago. The sports section. Now, when Dante grabbed the sports section, I went, "Hey, Dante." Whoa, wait a minute. He said, "Reese, if I had my way, I'd outlaw young guys being able to watch sports because they don't pay them anything." He says, "There's only two people that make money in sports." He said, "That's the players that are out on the field. And I haven't seen you on the field other than with your dogs, and the owner of the team." And he looked at me and he said, "Reese, do you own a team I don't know about?" I said, "No." Oh, then you'll find this section. I'll show you something real interesting. This is the business section. And I challenge you, go home this week, those of you that get a newspaper, and do a little comparison. Because here's what you'll find.
Very thin.
This is the thinnest section of our paper. That's how important business is to our country. He said, "From here on out, Reese, you may have to buy 10 papers to satisfy your reading appetite, but that's the only section I ever better catch you reading again, because it's the only section that's going to make you any money." So I told Jeff that. I said, "These are the kinds of things I'm going to teach him." I said, "I'm also going to teach him something that he's got to do right now, and that's this, compounding." I know Dante showed most of you this slide last week. This is, well, can't tell real good by the lights, but this is a guy, at 22 years old, he gets started, for 6 years, puts away just $2,000 a year at 12%, but when he retires at 65, he's worth $1.3 million. I said, "I bet you we can hit $1.5 million if we get him started when he's 18. That gives him 4 years ahead of everybody else, and this survey." Now, some of you right now are going, "Where is this guy going?" There's a point why I brought up compounding. Please write this down. Leverage is the fastest way to compound your assets. Leverage, when starting out, is the fastest way to compound your assets. What can leverage do for you? Let me give you some examples. Okay, we're going to have to dim one of these lights if we could do that, just so I could get this screen lit up. When you're first starting out, leverage will work on just about any type of real estate. Keep in mind, you don't want to go after the real high-priced ones. But you can buy condos. You can buy yourself luxury townhomes. You'll buy single-family residences. That's good. I know. You can get just about any type of property using leverage. You can get duplexes. You can get fourplexes. In fact, let me give you some numbers to give you an idea when leverage is used correctly. You can bring the lights back up. When leverage is used correctly. Now, this is a fourplex that we took a guy out, showed it to him, he decided to buy it. It was purchased back April of 1991. Gentleman who bought it, purchased it, total purchase price for that fourplex, $70,000. He leveraged in points, closing costs, real estate commissions, everything, $12,000 down. Now, you got 4 units. Each unit, the day he bought it, was renting for $375 a month. $375 times 4 is $1,500. What's the formula we're going to use to calculate our expenses, everybody? Favor. One more time. Favor. Thank you. We got our principal and interest, taxes, insurance, management, utilities, repairs, and vacancy. His principal and interest payment cost him $500 a month. His taxes, $120. Insurance, $50. Management will vary depending upon who you use, usually between 5 to 10% of the gross rents. The company that he chose to use charged 10%, so 10% of $1,500 is, that's right, $150. Utilities, they do not always apply. Now, I know we can't see it right now, but on the back side of that fourplex was a laundry facility, which had its own meter, and the owner of the property paid that bill. That cost him $50 a month. Repairs, my recommendation is put aside out of your gross rents anywhere from 5 to 10%. When you're out doing your inspection, you'll want to base it on the age of the building. That particular property, all the insides of the units had been completely rehabbed. He felt that putting 5% of the gross rents for repairs aside would be sufficient. So he stashes $75 a month. I recommend on vacancy 10% every single time. Nothing less, nothing more. 10% of the for vacancy of the gross rents, another $150. Take all of the expenses, cost him $1,095 in expenses to own that property. $1,095 from his gross rents gives him a positive cash flow of $405 a month. $405 times the first year of 12 months that he owned it, $4,860. $4,860 into his original out-of-pocket cash was $12,000. Divide $4,860 into $12,000, and this gentleman got a 41% cash-on-cash return. Hey, let me ask you, who'd like a deal like that? Yeah. Okay, those of you that didn't raise your hand, is 41% not enough? Yes. Yes, he says. Okay.
It'll do for a start.
Those that didn't raise your hand, let me explain something to you. That fourplex has a replacement cost, hard cost. It's solid brick construction. Just to build it, you're looking at $125 grand. The lot, to fully improve that lot, you're looking at about $20,000. Hard cost, bare minimum for that fourplex is about $145,000. How much did he pay for it? Is that 50 cents on the dollar, yes or no? I'll tell you something else. The whole time he accepted 41% on his money when he bought that 50 cents on the dollar deal, he sold it November last year, $185,000. Now, let me ask you one more time. Who would like a deal like that if you come out with me? Yeah. Okay. When? That's a good question. Now that was leverage. Now I want to give you a cash one because I don't want to discredit cash. As I originally said, ultimately I want you to get to the point where you pay all cash. And if you're in a position to do that right now, I'd encourage you to take action immediately. Before I go any further, let me ask you a question. Will raw land, can you get a positive cash flow off raw land? How many say no? How many say yes? There's a lot of you that are not choosing one or the other. Okay. I think you can, and I'll tell you why. I was getting ready to go to a tax sale one time, and I went into the courthouse and I was doing all my research, and the sale's going to be in 3 days. As I was doing my research, I came across this one property that really interested me. And basically what it was 1.25 acres of raw land. I went out, took a look at the property, really liked it, and I noticed there was a big for sale sign on it. So I called the guy up and I said, how much do you want for your property? He said, I want $21,000. I said, okay, let me do some research and I'll get back to you. After pulling some comps, doing my research, I determined that what he was asking was fair market value. The problem was he was trying to sell it for all cash, and that area did not dictate that that's how you sold it. He did not understand his own real estate. So when I called him back, I also explained to him that I knew that the property was going to be sold in 3 days at a tax sale. After a little conversation, he soon realized that letting me buy it, he got something. If he let it go at the auction, he got nothing. Now, I'm going to pay all cash for this. What do you think I offered? That's right. I offered half. Now, my math isn't too good. Half of $21,000 to me was $10,000. He took it. I had to persuade him a little bit. Now, there was a reason, as I told you, he couldn't sell his property. Now, do you think I did the same actions he did? I turned around, put in a little newspaper ad in his own market, and here's what my ad said. I said I want $21,000, but I'll take 20% down. 20% down on $21,000 was $4,200. I then said I'll carry the balance of $16,800 for 10 years, but I want 12% on my money. To this day, I still receive payments for this property of $241.03 per month. $241.03 times the first year of 12 months that I owned it, I got back $2,892.36. What did I originally get, though? That's right, I got the 42. So when you add the 42 to the 28.92, I ended up getting back my first year $7,092.36. Now, what did I originally pay for the property? $10,000. Do you realize that that's 71% return on your money? Hey, if you'd like a deal like that, stand up and say, yeah! Yeah! All right. Hey. You know, I could sit and break it all down for you, and if you want, I'll send you it. Off the top of my head, sir, I couldn't tell you, and the reason why, I'll sum it up by saying this. In the last 4 years, as Gus said, I have purchased more properties than anybody in this company. I have purchased over 3,500 properties for Dante. I'm a little bit blurred on some of the old deals. Now, some of you are sitting here saying there's no way you could purchase 3,500 properties in 4 years. Understand, I have not done 3,500 real estate deals. I agree, that would be impossible. Why? That's a lot of deals. I'll put it to you this way. I had to write 100 offers to get my first one accepted. Okay? So if you're going to write 100 to get one, it's going to take some time. How did I do it? I'm the bulk purchaser. I'm the principal buyer. When I buy property for Dante, I buy 200 to 300 properties in one day. Now, to do 3,500 properties, not 3,500 deals, how many deals do I really have to do? Only about 10 or 11, right? I would guess that I've done about 60 or 70 actual real estate deals. But I have purchased a little over 3,500 for Dante, and we're negotiating some real good deals. And I'll tell you, these deals I come up with all the time. And periodically, I personally take people out, one-on-one. Some of you right now, I know what the next question a lot of you are thinking is, where's it at? Right? The fourplex? The reason why he got so much money on the resale, one, he bought it below replacement. Two, he was in the hottest market at the time in the country. That property was located in Austin, Texas. For those of you who don't know it, Austin has come back big time. That city is booming right now. That is not the hottest market anymore. Okay, I'll just tell you, don't go there, you're wasting your time. The land deal, New Mexico. Let me give you a mindset, because I know some of you are saying, I don't want to go to Texas. I don't want to go to Arizona. I don't want to go to New Mexico. I don't want to go to Florida. I want to stay right here in my own neighborhood. Hey, everybody would like to own their house and the rest of the block, but it just doesn't happen that often. There's also something else I want you to realize. This is your neighborhood, okay? if all you're going to do is work just your neighborhood, then you have to accept that that's the kind of money you're going to make. If you work just your city, you'll make this kind of money. If you work your state, you make this kind of money. But when you start working our entire country, where the opportunities are great, that's the kind of money you're going to make. So the point is this: the sooner you can get out of your neighborhood and get into our country, the bigger the money you're going to make. Now, who came here to learn how to make big money? Okay. But what stops people from leaving their own neighborhood? That's right, fear. Because why? They don't know the other area, right? Wouldn't it be logical if you didn't know another area, that if you went down and spent a little time in that area, got to know everything, the good parts of town, the bad parts of town, the good property managers, the good brokers, the bad brokers, that fear might just go away? Isn't that logical? Sometimes, I already asked you, a lot of you came here to learn how to change the current situation you're in. Sometimes we have to step out of our shoes, put on a different pair, and instead of walking this way, perhaps walk this way a little bit. Hey, I don't know, but you're going to have to do something different in your life if you want something that you currently don't have. Otherwise, if you keep doing the same actions, what are you going to get? The same results. I had a lot of fears when I was a kid. I really did. My parents took me to see the movie Jaws. Yeah, when I was a little kid. I wouldn't even go in a freshwater lake. Yeah, let alone in the ocean. Well, my dad did not want a son that was afraid. So he bought me a surfboard. Now, I almost killed myself trying to learn how to surf. I was afraid of the dark when I was a kid. My father used to make me camp out in the backyard by myself when there was no moon out. The first month, I was banging on that back door in 3 minutes. Second month, it took 10. Third month, I was no longer afraid of the dark because I realized there's nothing out there to be afraid of. For me, the things that I've been afraid of in life, I've learned just to take them head on. Now, I know that doesn't work for everybody, but if you really want some changes and you want to put some fears in your back pocket, take them head on. Because I was willing to leave my own neighborhood, just to give you an idea, I'm from San Luis Obispo. I live in Reno, Nevada. How many properties do I own in those areas? I only own my own home up here. I own nothing in the Central Coast. I'd love to be investing on the Central Coast. But how many deals do you think Damien or Dante are going to fund for me? Because understand, that's my grandma. How many deals do you think if I put on the table and I said, Damien, I got this beautiful quarter-acre lot, San Luis Obispo, $250,000. What do you think he's going to say? Get out of here. The first auction I ever went to for Dante, the very first one, I was petrified. I'm sitting there with $250,000 in my pocket. I do not want to lose this man's money. But if I would have let my fears get to me and I never raised that bidder's card, do you think I'd be standing here right today? Nope. Put your fears in your back pocket. Let me show you what 1 week out with me, because I got my... See, first, it was a matter of leaving my own area, recognizing value out of my own area. Second, it was being willing to jump on the deal. Let me show you 1 week what it's like to go out with me. This is from Century 21 when I was in Phoenix, Arizona. Currently, your group has put in $745,000 into escrow. Each of these transactions will be monitored closely, and you'll be contacted with regular necessary updates. We are currently negotiating an additional $500,000 in offers. See, that's 1 week with me. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that if you were to go out with me at the same time I'm buying that much real estate, and I have this big stack of offers that I'm shoving over to a banker, that if you were to slip yours on top, you might get a better deal? I'll put it to you this way. You could do it a couple different ways. Dante gets such great prices on his real estate simple because he pays all cash and he buys in bulk. Not everybody has that power, but sometimes it's a matter of recognizing that someone sitting next to you, or the 10 people in your own row, if you were all to put your money together, you might just be able to bulk purchase. See, if I take 25 people, and each of those people has $10,000, that's how much money? That's $250,000. $250,000 leveraged at 10%. How much real estate are we buying? $2.5 million. Now, if you walked in and you were buying a $250,000 house, do you think the banker is going to get more excited giving you that deal at 50 cents on the dollar, or would he like to see perhaps $2.5 million worth of real estate to give you that 50 cents on the dollar?
Much more excited.
You see what I'm saying? The banker does not get excited to see one person come in and buy one property. But when he sees 10 people come in and everyone's buying all at the same time, even though everyone is going on title to their own properties, that's how you can bulk purchase collectively. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Hey, what would you do? How many homeowners do I have? Okay. Those of you that didn't raise your hand, how many homeowners do I have? Okay. There's a lot of people that are not raising their hand. What would, and I want to ask you guys a question. What would you do to become a homeowner? You know what? That's the attitude I had. And I'll tell you what. I had to look at everything and see what nobody else was seeing. The first home that I went out and bought had a fair market value of $127,000. I got it under contract for $80,000. Now, how much money did I make up front? That's right, $47,000. I need $12,000 down. What do you think I did to get that 12 grand? Because I didn't have it in cash. Hey, I went to my parents. I went to everybody I knew that had any money. And not one of them would help me. So you want to know how I bought that house? Right here. How many of you have credit cards where they send you a little check that you can go into the bank and cash? I maxed my credit cards out once again to come up with that $12,000. Why? How much money am I making up front? If you divide $12,000 into $47,000,